Is Hearts of Iron 4 dying? This is a question that has been asked pretty much every month since the damn game came out. So today I'm going to look at what people thought back then, what they think now, and realistically where the game's going and where it's at. The year is 2016, the 6th of June to be precise, and Hearts of Iron 4 just came out. And looking at the amount of reviews the game has received over the years, you can kind of already see the answer to the question we're asking today. But back in the year of 2016, on release, what were people saying? Needs better AI, especially the glitch where the AI stop attacking the enemy or let the enemy take ports and don't react. Not to mention they don't defend home ports very well. This occurs much more frequently in the latter part of any game. 1,000 hours on record. Funnily enough, a lot of the complaints are around the absolutely horrid AI. Did not stop them playing for 640 hours though, so it can't be that bad. A lot of this is just all about the terrible AI, which is understandable, but also this is 2016 and it's not really got any much better since. So from what people are saying, mostly it's the terrible AI and simplistic gameplay mechanics and the overall loop of the gameplay that people really didn't like on release. Even skipping forward a whole year, people are still complaining about the AI, and I'm sure if I was to move every year forward from here on out, there'd be something to say about it still. Of course, every big update or DLC does come with its own reviews, mostly about the DLC policy, which is where I want to go into next. Yeah, you see, Hearts of Iron 4 has been kept alive by its updates and DLC model, something that isn't new to a Paradox game and definitely will not be new to any games coming forward. Let's say you want to get Hoi 4, you load up the Steam page, you scroll down, you see how expensive the base game is, but then you see a little bundle or two and you're like, alright, that's not too bad. Is there any more DLC? Oh my god, that is what I like to call terrifying. Now, coming in as a beginner with no knowledge about Paradox games and the model they work with, seeing that number right there is not very good. I imagine a lot of people get put off from this game just from that number alone. But Paradox has, I think, realized that this number right here and a big list of stuff that you need for the game to be fun doesn't really look good for a new player. So instead, they've launched their subscription service for their games, which allows you to get this big list of stuff, not for this price, but instead for this price a month. Now, the efficacies of subscription services, let alone in gaming aside, is this a good service for, say, a new player that wants to get into the game but isn't sure what content they actually want to play with? And honestly, my answer is yes. I'm sure a lot of people will use this in the long term, and even if you did use it in the long term, it would take you a very long amount of time to actually catch up to the amount of DLC and purchase you'd be adding up to just with that £6 a month subscription service. And obviously, if you were planning on taking a break from Hearts of Iron 4 and you don't want to continue subscription, you could do that and then you could come back whenever you like, and you still wouldn't have to pay £153 for damn DLC. Now, with the subscription service, I wish that Paradox was a bit more clear on what each DLC you did in the subscription does. Now, they do have these little blips right here which tells you, so if you do have the subscription service, I recommend you click on each of these and it will take you to the store page of the game. Now, this is Man the Guns, which is already in the base game already, but if you just go down and you scroll and see what's actually in the DLC, it can help you figure out if you want to buy that later in the future. Now, I'm thinking, a non-intrusive way for Paradox to inform you exactly what is in each DLC if you were to get the subscription, and I can't think of anything better myself. Maybe a small, first time hopping into the game, give you a quick breakdown with a skip button if you don't care. But yeah, I reckon if you do get the subscription and you just get the base game, you should definitely look through all of these your first time playing so you can really understand what you like and what you don't like and buy any future DLCs from there, or stick with the subscription, whatever floats your damn boat. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why are we ranting about DLCs anyway and the ethical dilemma of a subscription service? And that's because this is where Hearts of Iron 4 is currently. And the reason that Hearts of Iron 4 is here currently is because of all these DLCs that came out and kept people interested in the game. Because without these, we wouldn't be having a conversation about whether or not Hearts of Iron 4 is dying, because it would already be dead. Looking at Hearts of Iron 4 on Steam charts is one hell of a ride. Usually, games don't go up in popularity. In fact, usually they go down. So looking at Hearts of Iron 4 on release, getting its massive buff, but then constantly dropping down until a new DLC is to release, is a little bit perplexing, because you can quite literally see where the game gets updates and how people stick around, and keep on coming back. Obviously, this could be argued that all these people aren't the same, but I think these big jumps in players are definitely, obviously, returning players, but how many actually stick around? Is it just new people being filtered in, people being filtered out, one in, one out? We can never really know too certain. But what we do know, and even looking at the graph right now, is that this game has been on a upward trajectory for the longest time. Even comparing its lowest parts, it is still higher than it was on release. It's definitely very odd as someone who's been around since the beginning of Hoi 4, from its very niche beginnings and small audience, becoming something so large and a bit more mainstream and out on the open stage. Now, you can't exactly give Paradox all the credit for the mass popularity of the game, because realistically it is still carried by the community, and the Hearts of Iron 4 community is quite large, quite vocal, and quite out there. Now, it's literally impossible for me to claim to know uniquely what brings every single person into this game. It's just not possible. The only thing I could do is a broad stroke and assume that everything works in tangent to come together and make people want to play. But what I can say is that even if you claim that mods are the reason that people play this game so much, that your favorite YouTuber is the reason that the game grows so much and more players get in, or if it's just some guy on Twitter or Reddit making a damn meme, is that all of this requires a strong base and a strong foundation. Some would argue that if Paradox stopped updating the game, that the mod creators or the meme makers or the YouTubers would carry the game into oblivion. It would keep growing forever and ever, and I honestly have to disagree. Which brings us to the future. We've looked at the past, the present, and now it's time to predict the future. We looked at the critiques of the game on release, and a lot of them were very justified, but it didn't really stop people from playing the game from the hours we saw. I'm sure a lot of people did go ahead and drop the game right there and right then. We've seen how many people are currently playing the game and where it's come from, how it actually got there, from the community support, the workshop mods, the memes, the people who make stupid videos on it like myself. But what's next for this little niche game that made it big? Can it even go any further? Can it draw more people in still? Is there even any room for this game to be updated anymore? Because while a lot of the DLCs and updates do focus on mechanics, their big draws is the new focus trees they add for countries that bring people coming back for something different. This crudely colored MS Paint map shows every nation that currently has a focus tree, either that came with the base game or through a DLC. You see, there is a lot of countries, and you don't have to be a history buff to really understand this, that didn't have too much of a part in World War II. So trying to market a DLC for a lot of these nations that aren't colored in is going to be a bit tricky for Paradox. In fact, one of the biggest criticisms for the latest country pack, Trial of Allegiance, was the fact it was in a region of the world that not a lot of people cared about for their World War II game. And there are certainly still nations in the game that do deserve a focus tree because they did play a part in World War II, like Austria or Belgium. Even Neutral Ireland had some interesting things going on. But at what point are you milking the game for all it's worth and adding content for the sake of adding content in hopes that it'll just keep players coming back? I think this is something Paradox knows. They know that people want to play Germany or the Soviets or the UK. They're not too interested in playing Argentina or Chile, let alone spending money to play them. Which is why they came to the decision, I believe, to make a bunch of the early DLC free. They've added them into the base game, which has given them some wiggle room to actually go back and fix a few of the nations that really need it. You see, there is a stark quality contrast in newer focus trees like Brazil that have been added recently, in comparison to major nations like Germany that haven't been touched in years, and it's really really insane to look at the difference here. And for the longest time, I think Paradox was stuck in a corner on whether or not to update these focus trees, because technically a part of the German focus tree came from a different DLC. One that is now free. In Waking the Tiger, Japan got their focus tree reworked, and again, it's looking very lacquer compared to the newer nations. In fact, I'd say it's one of the worst focus trees in the game now, especially considering the actual impact Japan had in the damn period. So seeing Paradox make these DLCs now free definitely shows you where they're going. We're going to be getting a whole bunch of new content for nations that really need it to bring them up to the standard of the latest nations they've added with their focus trees. I don't know how long they can keep it going, but there are nations that desperately need reworks. I think America, Japan, Germany, even places like India, they really need a good rework. Now, this gives them a lot of wiggle room for future DLCs, but it doesn't save them forever, because eventually we'll come full circle here and they'll run out of nations once again to update. There's also the question, even if they have made these DLCs free and now part of the game, is I already bought it once, why would I go back and buy it again just to get a reworked thing of I've already played 10 times? And I can't say this for 100%, but I do know that when they reworked the Soviet Union focus tree, they did add the historical portion of it for free in the base game. And I do really hope if they go forward with these reworks that they do go with that model again and make the historical part, the rework, free for people to enjoy. And if they want more, they can go ahead and buy the DLC with the added features to a new mechanic. So if you've got to this point in the video, you're probably still asking yourself, is the game dying? We already know that the game is more popular than ever. Looking at the charts, we know that the game is in a better position than when it first came out in general. We know that there are still new mods coming out for it and the community is growing larger and larger. There are still people making loads of videos on it. There is still stuff to be added to the game, but realistically, there is a finite point where this game will stop being updated. And that point has to be after these new nations have been updated. Once they have been brought up to the standard of the latest focus trees, realistically, there is nothing left that should be added to this game. I'm saying that now, but I don't know if Paradox will just keep going and going and going, or they will see that the game has reached its max. But will that point be the end of this game? It's hard to say. Obviously, the community could keep it going forever and ever, and I'm sure there will always be people playing this game until the lights go out. But will new players still be coming in? I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't know if I'll still be here making videos. I don't know if I'll have moved on to something else. I don't know if you watching this video right now, where you will be in 5 years from now. I do not know the answer, but I do know it is in sight, theoretically. We know when the game will start receiving updates and when Paradox will probably inevitably move on to Hearts of Iron 5. But the real question is, will people go with them? Do people want a new Hoi 5 game? Do they want a sequel after paying all the DLC? And what exactly would that game even look like? Could it usurp the role of the Hoi 4 community's best map game ever? Time will unfortunately have to tell, as we do not have our future goggles on just yet. Either way about it, people will always say that this game is dying, it won't have much left in it, it's gonna end at some point, and they're right, it will end at some point. It only matters though to you. When will you be done with Hearts of Iron 4? Because when you are done with Hearts of Iron 4 is when the game dies. But as of now, there are plenty of yous out there to keep this game going, keep it fresh with new mods, new community support, new updates. That is why this game is yet to die. So the answer overall to this question is yes. Hearts of Iron 4 is dying, but it doesn't mean it's the end. No, this is the end.